Greetings, War Thunderers. This is Longshot, taking to the air in realistic battles, this time in a FW190 A-1. I'm just making sure that I have the right settings here, convergence nice and close, getting rid of stealth, as I need to see where my shots are going, and better make sure I have plenty of fuel as well. Okay, it's been a little while since I've flown in RB, and I'm taking a different approach this time. Instead of going out solo, I'm flying with a wingman, as it does make a huge difference to your chances of success in these battles. And my wingman today is the YouTuber Jenga. We're actually working on another collaboration video, however, a technical issue on my end meant that I didn't record the audio of our conversation, so we'll have to fly out again another time. But I didn't want to let this particular battle go to waste, as I did find it quite enjoyable, and I believe and hope that it shows some progress on my part as I continue to learn the basics of flying in RB. My tactics are not perfect, far from it, so I'll also be pointing out my mistakes in the hope that they'll help me improve, and not only me but other RB newcomers as well. And by the way, Jengar and I had flown several missions before this one, in FW190 A-4s. I know quite a few of my viewers love that plane in RB, but personally I didn't find it that great. We already know from my previous video testing of flight characteristics in the E4's battle rating range that 109s are comparatively poor turners, but that's no problem if you want to use energy tactics. My issue was that the E4 would suffer occasional, near-complete lock-up to its roll rate, and at the most inconvenient times as well, causing me to repeatedly miss out on firing opportunities. And that's not the case with this 190. Now, it's no surprise that this plane's turning capabilities are even worse than the 109s, but that's never the strength of a Focke-Wulf 190 anyway. The important thing is that this plane can continue to roll well, even at high speeds, and that was a very pleasant change after flying the Emil. Anyway, it's armed with two 20mm FFM cannon with very limited ammunition and a bunch of fuselage mounted light machine guns. Conserving ammunition and making the most of your shots will be vital in this plane. However, the machine guns are effective enough to let you stay in the fight after your cannon rounds are spent. And just while we're climbing out to the side here, I want to touch on my previous video where I questioned whether there was still fun to be had in arcade mode. I actually didn't intend to make that video, it just kind of spilled out of me after a very frustrating time playing arcade, and yes, I probably went too far in a few of my comments. Firstly, I am in no rush to quit War Thunder just yet, although unless there are improvements made to arcade I won't be making further videos for that mode, even though my old squadron do drag me back into playing it now and then. A huge number of people have told me that realistic is really worth getting into, so my plan is to focus on RB for a while and see how that goes. If you're an arcade player, and like me you've become tired of its gameplay issues, I encourage you to come along for the ride and let's see if RB is all it's cracked up to be. And if you're an experienced RB player, perhaps you can share your insights in the comments on how to play this mode in order to get the most enjoyment and satisfaction out of it. Anyway, enough talk about that. Let's focus on how this battle is developing. Okay, so we're starting to come into contact with enemy planes. Jengar, as you can see, has about a 700 metre altitude advantage on me, probably because he brought a bit less fuel. There's that P-38, but he really didn't climb and use his plane to its best strength, so he's not a threat. Neither will he be a target because he's flying straight into a bunch of blues that are going to shoot him down without too much fuss. So we've got a group of enemies at low altitude. Hurricane scraping ground targets on the ground over there. Bunch of P-40s and a P-400 amongst them. Can't see P-47s at altitude or Spitfires. That was the main concern. These are mostly Americans, pretty much all Americans. Okay, so there's a P-39 at altitude. It's about the same as me at around 4,000 metres. And that plane can almost certainly outturn me in a dogfight, but his performance at these altitudes should be about similar to mine. Neither of these planes are really built for great high altitude performance, and around 5,000 metres and up they start to suffer. But he is a threat that's got to be dealt with, so I'm heading toward him, but I'm not closing very quickly on him, so I think he's actually flying away from me. And I notice the P-400 beneath is starting to get rather close. In the meantime, Jengar's picked up a P-40 at altitude, so he's going to deal with him. And I've decided this P-400 needs to be boom and zoom, so I've cut my throttle, both to avoid building up too much speed so that I don't have too short a firing window, and also to not alert them of my attack. Switched off him because this other P-40 is a much better looking target, but I only managed to critical his wing, brief burst at this P40, don't manage to do real damage to him either, so that's it, hitting WEP and getting out of there. Now the P400 kept his altitude, and he's made a horizontal turn, and he's now following me. And given that, I thought he won't have the altitude. I can just pull a loop here and then drop on him from above, and hopefully he'll have stalled. But I underestimated the amount of energy I'd need to pull this manoeuvre, and I started to get a bit worried when he began to close into guns range. But right there I can see condensation from his wingtips. He doesn't get guns on me because he was indeed right at the point of stall. And so I end up with an easy kill. But yeah, that was a bit too close for comfort. I should have managed my speed a bit better than what I did there. Anyway, wepping down into this boom and zoom because I didn't want these P40s to get away from me. But unfortunately that means I'm going to be travelling a bit fast, even though I do cut my throttle here pretty soon. A bit too fast to really get a shot at any of them here. Because they're slower, they're manoeuvring around quite a lot more. This P40 here is going to zigzag across. I can't quite follow. This one's going to drop beneath my guns. I know there's a P400 above me somewhere. So I'm just continuing my speed. Just want to get out of here. I don't want to get stuck in a dogfight flying this plane. It isn't its strength. And that P40 again, I can't get guns on him either. And I'm not going to pull a sharp manoeuvre to try and get guns on him. Better just to say that that manoeuvre, there's Jenga flying with the P40 up there, that manoeuvre was not well judged, so just get out of there, reset, and look to set up a better attack. And as I did so, I saw another P40 at ground level. No other blues around him, no one else picking on him, so yes, why not target him? So I'm just going to head in his direction. Meanwhile, Jengar's won his battle up top with the P40 and forced him to dive out, and he's now going to start boom and zooming that mob of Americans down at ground level. So far everything's going in our favour in this game. There really isn't anyone left at high altitude to be a problem, so we should be able to just pick off targets one by one here. It should be just like shooting fish in a barrel, really, as long as I don't overheat my engine. From my point of view though, I've only got 31 shells with my cannon left, and there's a kill from Jenga there. In fact, he got 2 of them. Well done. So I have to make sure of the shots here, but I'd say it's almost certain that I'll use up what remains of my cannon on this P40. And then I'll have the question of whether or not I return to base to reload, or whether I continue to fly in this area and be active in the battle. It'll depend on the situation of what's happening at the time. But for the moment, cutting throttle, just gently dropping in behind this P40, who doesn't seem to realise that I'm coming. He is low and slow. He has no hope. He's taken a bit of damage. It looks like he's returning to base. There goes the rest of my cannon. Managed to crit his tail control. And down he goes. That's 2 kills. Not bad. My cannon are out, and suddenly I'm facing an A-20 who is using his plane like a fighter. Did not see him coming. Looks like he has been busy raiding ground targets over there, and again he's probably on his way back to base. Maybe to reload on bombs. And he did crit my tailplane there, but it's no big deal. The flying characteristics are still pretty good. But yeah, that was a little bit alarming, simply because I didn't know he was there and did not want to wear those 50 cals in an unexpected head-on. So I'm just making up my mind here. Do I go back to base, or do I hang around? I'm really not sure. I decide just to be a bit neutral, flying in the general direction of the base, but just watching to see what happens. Jengar's in the midst of that still fairly large group. There's 3 planes there, and there don't seem to be many blueberries left. Only another blue plane with him, so I thought, no, I'll hang around and see if I can help out. And even worse, unfortunately, Jenga had an unfortunate crash there with a P40. So suddenly it is imperative that I hang around. If these guys get back to their base, chances are they could reload and be in the air faster than what I could, and I could find myself with an altitude disadvantage. Plus there's a blue plane there to help out, except now he's been shot down as well. And from my point of view, suddenly things are starting to look a bit... well, things are hanging in the balance. There's a FW190 200 on my team. He's not going to be any help in terms of winning the battle against these fighters. And there's also a friendly FW190, and that's it. And from looking at the... or from Jenga looking at the leaderboard and telling me, there were 3 enemies around at this point. I know one of them is the P40, and there's the other one. P400 landing on the airfield and the A-20. They've all returned to base, and now I simply cannot return to base myself. If I do, they'll be over the top of me by the time I take off, so I've got to stop these guys from landing. Fortunately for me, P400 is down. He overshot his landing on the runway, so we're now down to 2 enemies. But unfortunately, attacking these guys is going to take me right into the teeth of some savage AAA. And in RB it is savage. I don't usually survive attacking anywhere near the airfield. But because they're all firing away at the BF109, I could risk a boom and zoom against this P40. And I'm just going to keep my plane fast and also keep wiggling around just enough to make it so that the AAA doesn't draw a bead on me that easily. And now I'm going to start getting a storm of it. Look at that. Any one of those could end my battle very quickly. I've got so much speed up, the P400 and the A-20 are trying to follow me. Neither of them can. So, gentle turn here. Just to head back toward them. I'm hoping the A-20 might stall out beneath, but he pulls a horizontal turn. And I'm half tempted to drop down and boom and zoom him, but then I think, hang on, my little pea-shooter guns are unlikely to do much to him, and he's turning sharply. P40 is a better target. So I'll wait for the BF-109 to get out of range, hit the P40 pretty hard, and then once again I'm extending away. And whether it was the damage I did to him or just his bad flying, he was nose down into the ground and that was the end of him. But it was also the end of my friend in the BF-109 because he flew across in front of the A-20's guns and he paid the price. I'm not going to make that mistake. Again, maintaining my considerable speed, advantage to extend above him, and a bit of a high Chandelle turn there. Got a bit slow. Not that it was a danger from the A-20, but it was a significant danger from the AAA at that point. I very quickly tried to get going again. Just want to get position above that A-20. Not that I think I can do much against him. I've only got these, 4 7.7mm or whatever they are, light machine guns on this plane. I didn't expect that they'd be able to do much to an A-20. But I'm going to give it a go. Why not? Okay, down through the storm of AAA we go. I'm going to see if I can drop in beneath him and then focus on one of the engines, hoping, against hope, to set him alight. That's my main chance here. Okay, so here we go. See if I can direct that stream onto an engine, and yes, he is alight. Let me get the heck of away from his gunners and away from that AAA. I'm just going to snake the line a bit here. Yes, he's still alight, and down he goes. That is the last enemy plane out of the air, and that is a battle won. So that's a demonstration of what the 190 A-1 can do when you have the energy advantage. It's a highly effective fighter. Even when you run out of cannon, it can still do a lot of damage. And yes, it was a nice feeling to be the last fighter in the air and secure the win for my team. That kind of thing is what I was missing in arcade, so it's good that RB lets you pull off a victory in that way. Of course, it won't always go your way like this. In fact, in the very next game, Django and I were matched into a team of 109 G2s and 190 A4s, and we did indeed face a 4-man squadron of P-47s above us at high altitude, which posed a significant challenge. I still have a lot to learn in RB, but the mode is starting to grow on me. And by the way, my next video will be another Analyze This, also looking at an RB battle, where a pilot is forced to take a BF-109 G14 way outside its comfort zone. So until then, I look forward to reading your comments and I'll be seeing you in the skies.